Let's begin the day with the national anthem. Would everyone please stand if you aren't already? Thank you. Please be seated. I am Robert Curry, the chairman of the Board of Trustees of Keck Graduate Institute, and I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all of you to this, our 10th commencement ceremony. It's a wonderful day, and I'm sure everyone will be enjoying the festivities and the accomplishments. And we also got a good break on the weather as well. Out of respect for this momentous occasion, please just take a moment and make sure that your cell phones are switched off. I would now like to introduce Father Joseph Fenton from the Office of Chaplains, who will deliver the invocation.
We gather together this morning to ask God to bless these graduates as they commence their careers beyond this great school. This is a great day for celebration, the 10th commencement here, and for acknowledging the hard work of our graduates, and also to remind all of us of the underlying truth of all religions in the world: do unto others what you would like them to do unto you. Woodrow Wilson, before he was President of the United States or Governor of the state of New Jersey, was President of Princeton University. He always reminded the students, especially the graduates, that the purpose of education was to help them leave the world better than they found it. The extraordinary gifts and talent, scholarship, and leadership of our graduates is a challenge given to them to make their marks for the betterment of our world. And so we give thanks to the God of our universe for our graduates and invoke God's blessing upon them.
Thank you, Father. Now we have a tradition here at KGI where the graduates thank their parents, families, and friends. So I would ask all the graduates to rise. Turn towards your family and friends in the audience and give them a big round of applause. Very good. Now I would welcome President Schuster to please come to the podium.
Thank you, Chairman Curry, and welcome to all of you, and congratulations. It is my great pleasure to welcome today's graduates of the Keck Graduate Institute class of 2011, the 10th graduating class at our institution. They are the new alumni joining KGI after its 14th anniversary year. I also extend a special welcome to family, friends, and guests who come together today to celebrate this commencement. We are honored to be joined by members of KGI's Board of Trustees, Advisory Council, faculty, alumni, and staff. On behalf of the KGI community, I welcome all of you. In addition, I would also like to say that this, in fact, is the first time in the history of our institution that this ceremony is being broadcast. Already, we have visitors joining us who I wish to also welcome from India, Israel, Sri Lanka, and Sweden. Welcome to all of you. So I would please like to welcome all of us. Please join me in welcoming all of our guests. Following Chairman Curry's procedure of thanking the families and friends, I would also like to renew our tradition or continue our tradition of asking the graduates in the class of 2011 to thank the faculty. It is the faculty who have also worked so hard over these last years to develop a curriculum, to build the standards and build the values which are so important to all of us as we put together science and business. So please, I ask you to thank our faculty. It is now my pleasure to introduce our first commencement speaker from the Postdoctoral Professional Master's Program, Antonio Sanchez, class of 2011. Tony graduated from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign in biochemistry in 1999. He attended medical school in Chicago and graduated with an MD from Rush Medical College in 2004. After teaching as an adjunct faculty member in human anatomy and physiology, he began a research fellowship at the Medical College of Wisconsin in anesthesia and neuropharmacology. In 2008, he joined the research team at the University of California Irvine Medical Center in the Comprehensive Cancer Center, where he worked on phase 1 through phase 3 clinical trials in oncology. While at KGI, he was a team member on the Eli Lilly Team Masters Project. Upon graduation, Tony will be joining UV Products as a life scientist. Tony.
Thank you, President Schuster. I will say, while being at KGI, I participated in, this is not the speech, by the way. I took the opportunity to take some improv classes in anticipation of this event, and I will say, things go down a lot better with the 2-drink minimum. But in any case, hello, class of 2011. I imagine that for many of us, the time at KGI has been filled with firsts. Thinking back, the moment that stands out most vividly for me was my participation in the Holi Festival in March. For those of you that don't know, it's a Hindu festival that greets the turn of winter into spring with a literal splash of color. When I attended, I had every intention of sitting and talking while other people threw colored powder at each other. Indeed, I attended the event in a very nice sweater and pressed collared shirt, armed with really good witty remarks and great one-liners, clearly not prepared for what was to come. When I arrived, someone rubbed powder in my face, knowing full well I intended the event just to socialize. I won't name names, but her name rhymes with Dilshad. So fortunately, I lived close to the school and promptly went home and changed into more appropriate clothing. Still, I wasn't prepared for what would happen next. When I returned, someone threw powder square at my head and got a fair amount of my mouth as well. That was a tipping point. I then proceeded to follow suit, and powder began to fly. I threw it in people's faces, rubbed it into their ears, shirts, and hair, and even helped to carry an unwitting participant into a pool of colored water. Needless to say, I had an amazing time, and it was quite messy. Still, I never would have had so much fun had I not attended the opportunity, thrown myself into it. And here's the lesson that crystallized in my mind from that experience. That actually there were 2 events. Number 1, throw yourself into opportunities. They may be risky and messy, but sometimes work out in unexpected ways. Number 2, oftentimes the best part of an experience is a group of people with whom you share it. So I have taken risks in my career. One example, one case in point is my application to the PPM program. Before starting the program, I sat down with my family, had a very serious conversation, considered the risks and benefits were I to start. Upon being accepted into the program, I had to quit my job. I lost a year of earnings and added to my student debt, and we won't go into that. But as my fellow PPMers and I learned on preview day back in 2010, there are opportunity costs in any venture in which you engage, academic or otherwise. Fortunately for us, the faculty and administrators that we met made a really strong case that the program would be a wise investment. And indeed, the program was the leverage that I was looking for to transition into the industry. I took the leap and have not been disappointed. I've met people, amazing people with incredible talents, and have learned more about myself than I would have otherwise. Not only that, but I've gained business knowledge that really has bolstered my professional credentials. And finally, to my great surprise, I made relationships with staff, with faculty, advisory council members, alumni, and each of you, people that have taken a genuine interest in my career. To be honest, the people I met here have been more than just the icing on the KGI cake. They are the cake. What I've learned here at KGI is that life is full of ventures that oftentimes don't turn out the way we intended. As much as we would like the course of our lives to proceed down a trajectory that's safe and predictable, there are many unknowns. Many things out of our control, which really can never be factored into our calculations. In my case, prior to attending KGI, I went to medical school with the intention of practicing medicine, but quickly found out that as much as I love the field, it really wasn't a good match. You know what? Sick people have a lot of problems. However, I certainly learned a great deal from that experience. All right, now some of you may actually have gotten everything you wanted to date. That internship you wanted, the job with the salary at the awesome location. However, I almost guarantee that at some point in your life, something will not work out. But whether you don't get what you want, or find yourself in a situation in which you didn't plan, understand that many life choices are very much like startups. That is, in every 10 ventures, only 2.5 achieve the intended consequences. Now, the key here is to learn from each endeavor and take those lessons with you. At some point, your investment will yield dividends. So here in the third iteration of my career, I find that I can bring to bear all the lessons and knowledge that I've gained to make me a very well-rounded candidate to fill a variety of roles in the biosciences. I leave KGI, like you, with a fund of knowledge and set of skills that the majority of our peers with similar backgrounds just don't have. An education that bridges our training with the business of bioscience. However, had I never taken the plunge, I would not be here to say that. And I'm sure most of you can say the same. Moreover, in the same way that you can leverage your past experiences towards your future endeavors, don't forget that you're leaving KGI with more than just a degree. You have been grafted into a community and have a wealth of resources available to you going forward. Now, these are not resources that are financial, brick, or mortar, but rather they are the professional contacts that you made through your TMP liaisons, through Focus Track Fridays, or through your advisors or professors. They are even the staff who worked with you to orchestrate things like this, and they are the people sitting around you. So go out there and throw yourself into opportunities. They will be risky and messy and sometimes uncomfortable. The lessons learned and experience gained may not be immediately evident, but be patient. The lessons learned and the experience gained, the things you learn and acquire will definitely serve you well in the future. And know that you are not alone. Draw upon those people with whom you form bonds. Don't be afraid to reach out to someone in your network for advice or with a question. This is the KGI experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. I am pleased to introduce Trevor Sell, our 2011 MBS class speaker. Trevor graduated from Cornell University in 2008 with a Bachelor of Arts in Chemistry and Biology. After college, he traveled and studied Portuguese in Rio de Janeiro before coming to KGI in 2009. While a student at KGI, he was a second-year social representative for student government, as well as president of the ski club and the wine club. He interned at Amgen last summer in brand protection. Trevor was a member of the Bhesania Nova Team Masters Project, performing business development analysis and asset allocation. In the fall, Trevor will take an associate position at LEK Consulting in Los Angeles. Trevor.
Thank you. Well, President Schuster, distinguished guests, family, friends, and fellow graduates, good morning. It's an honor to speak on behalf of my fellow students. I'd first like to again thank the parents, spouses, family, and friends in the audience who supported us in our decisions to come to KGI for grad school. It was a risk. Some of us left comfortable jobs. Others of us came from great distances. In the audience today, for example, I count my first friends from distant lands like Taiwan, India, Uruguay, Thailand, even New Mexico. In our class of a little over 50 students, we represent at least 15 different countries and 16 different states. I came from the East Coast, and while I'm sure my culture shock in moving to Southern California was nothing compared to those who came from overseas, I did have my moments of confusion at first. But by now, I think we're all experts at Claremont living, and we will have no trouble guiding our family and friends during their visit this weekend. For example, we know where to get great egg sliders for breakfast, good tacos for lunch. We know there's no real bars in this town, but if you need a late night drink, we can show you a fondue restaurant or a sushi place shaped like a boat where there's always a party. We no longer think it's strange to hit a 5-lane traffic jam on Sunday morning. We know now that stop signs here are just suggestions. It took a little while, but I think I've come to accept and even understand, in some cases, all the oddities and contradictions that California has to offer. Now, the native Californians may not know exactly what I'm talking about, but whether you came here from the other side of the world or just the other side of the 5 freeway, we will all, no doubt, experience culture shock once again as we soon enter a business world with just as many oddities and contradictions. But thankfully, the degrees we earn today have prepared us well for this next destination. See, there we will be expected to decrease risk while increasing returns, to decrease side effects while increasing efficacy, to decrease costs while increasing innovation. But we have already come to understand and accept these dichotomies. We recognize their importance toward bettering society, even if the science seems impossible at first. By now, we are seasoned travelers between academia and industry, and upon graduating, we will become scientific ambassadors to the business world. Let's take a minute to reflect on how we all got to this point. See, like any good ambassador, we started by learning the language. With the help of our professors, we quickly mastered industry buzzwords and MBA jargon. We became bilingual translators between research laboratories and corporate boardrooms. Let's just review some of the key vocabulary real quick. Key opinion leader survey, a way to poll a large number of experts by email to determine market potential of a new product. Also, an effective way to crash KGI's email server. First mover advantage, the competitive advantage a company gains by being the first to enter a new market. Also, never the correct answer on Professor Bird's exam when asked, why should a company enter a new market? Gantt chart, a detailed timeline of project deliverables and deadlines. It also doubled as great wallpaper for our TMP offices. Networking, building a network of personal contacts in the business world through social interactions. Standard methods included adding coworkers on LinkedIn or schmoozing professionals at conference after parties. More aggressive techniques included throwing your business cards at cars in front of bars in Palm Springs. Let's see, variability. This one's tough to define, but we all know it's bad. Intrinsic motivation is the idea that workers are motivated by an internal desire to achieve. It's also something we lost entirely the moment we got a job offer. Okay, but vocabulary and language was only the start, because here we became immersed in the culture and customs and rituals of the business world. Things like communication, teamwork, leadership. We learned to present to executives. We learned that sometimes the key to making a good presentation is standing tall and speaking with confidence, even if you don't really know what you're talking about. Take my wine club presentations, for example. But we also learned that the surest way to achieve confidence was to actually put in the time and effort to become experts on a topic. We learned to leverage individual strengths and work as a team. To turn to the finance whiz to check our Excel models, to turn to the engineer to write our MATLAB algorithm, to turn to the good writer to review our term paper, to turn to the MD for an aspirin after accidentally deleting the term paper. We came together as a team to organize great social events like Diwali, Cinco de Mayo, Oktoberfest, and our super classy graduation party in downtown LA. This same teamwork is how a bunch of KGI biology majors brought home an intramural flag football championship. We learned how to manage people. See, unlike in college, where your only obstacles to success is your own attention span, here at KGI, your GPA lived and occasionally died on the backs of others. Sometimes you got lucky with an all-star team that managed itself and completed projects effortlessly, but usually there was only one way to ensure high marks consistently, and that was by actively bringing out the best in your team through exceptional leadership. It will be true in the business world, as it was here, that if you hope to call yourself a leader, then your greatest success is enabling the success of your team. So, from INDs to IPOs, our studies at KGI made us fluent in the workings of the biotech industry. We know how to navigate the complexities of human biology, the nuances of healthcare regulation, and the intricacies of corporate finance. These skills and the knowledge we have gained here will be essential in bridging the gap between scientific research and its commercialization. So in looking back on what we have learned, we should recognize this unique biculturalism we now possess. We know both sides of biotech innovation well, and we will be of great value to society by connecting them together. See, many ambitious projects fail because their sponsors did not fully understand the limits of the science behind them. We can translate it. But understanding the science does not guarantee success either, because it is not necessarily the inventors of technology that create real value, but rather those who know the road to effectively apply innovation towards solving the needs of society. We have the map. We have everything we need now to succeed, and our bags are packed. It's been great traveling with all of you up to this point, and I hope you enjoy your next destination and send me a postcard when you get there. Thank you. Congratulations to the class of 2011.
Thank you, Trevor. Can I join the wine club? I now have the honor of presenting Khushnuma Bhesania, president of the class of 2011. Kush, as we all call her, joined KGI in 2009. She holds a BS in biochemistry from St. Xavier's College with gold medal, and an MS in biochemistry from MSU India, also with gold medal. We're seeing a pattern. Before coming to KGI, she worked as a clinical research associate with Quintiles, a multinational clinical research organization. After a few years of working with Quintiles India, she was promoted to training manager and moved to Quintiles Singapore. Kush was in charge of designing and delivering clinical research training programs to internal Quintiles staff and hospital staff across various countries such as Malaysia, Thailand, China, Indonesia, Japan, and Korea. After over 4 years of working in the industry, Kush decided to pursue the MBS program at KGI. On campus, she has always been involved with student life and was our first international student body president. Last summer, Kush was a marketing intern at Veracyte, a dynamic startup founded by one of our trustees, Bonnie Anderson. Kush also was a member of the Veracyte Team Masters Project. And surprise, after graduation, Kush will be joining Veracyte again as a product manager. It's a pleasure to introduce Kush.
Thank you, President Schuster, and I'm going to take this opportunity one more time to welcome all my family and friends, and on behalf of the class, everybody who's here to support us. So one more time for family and friends. I'll wait for that. Okay, so before I hand over the mic to Cindy to present the class gift on behalf of the class of 2011, I want to take the opportunity to thank all my student government officers who worked very hard to put together social and professional events for all of the KGI community this year. I'm going to request all the officers to stand so that all your friends and family can applaud the work you've done this year. We start with Farhan Bukhari, who was our PPM student representative. Laura Wilson, the PPC student representative. Dilshad Contractor, international chair. Purush Dhanraj, president of the Bioscience Management Club. Tyson Fetzer, intramural chair. Christina Alai, information affairs. Shafali Nagrani, second-year curriculum chair. Michelle Pesci, second-year ethics and judicial chair. And Trevor Sell, second-year social chair. Great job, you guys. Thank you. Finally, I'd like to congratulate Kyle Mack. Kyle Mack is the student body president for the year 2011-2012. Are you there, Kyle? Okay, so Kyle takes over from me. Kyle is the student body president for the next year. And with that, I'm now going to request Cindy to present the class gift. I've had the privilege to work with Cindy on a year-long TMP with Verisign, and the class has also voted for Cindy to be the most positive person of the class. So Cindy Cordova presenting the class gift.
Thank you, Kush. So first of all, I'd like to thank the class of 2011 for all your generous donations and support towards the class gift. I'm so very proud of what our collaboration was able to accomplish. So with that, this is heavy. This plaque immortalizes the team spirit and camaraderie of the class of 2011. So the class quote selected reads as follows: "Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is a success." Now this plaque will be placed in the alumni patio for all future KGI students to see. And with that, I give it to Kush, I guess? Or President Schuster. All right. Now the class legacy gift are 2 video screens that are now installed and operational in the 517 and 535 entryways. And so thank you to KGI for all of the support and professional development you've given us as students. I'm grateful that we were able to give back to KGI in a meaningful way as well. Thank you.
On behalf of KGI, let me say thank you, and we gratefully accept this donation. I'm sure all of you have been able, as you walk around campus, to see the screens, and we very much appreciate it. Thank you so much for your generosity. We will think of you always when we look at those screens and look at this very great gift. Thank you. It is now my pleasure to introduce our very special commencement speaker. Jim Cornelius is the non-executive chairman of the board of Bristol-Myers Squibb. He is former CEO of Bristol-Myers, a position he held since September 2006. BMS is a $20 billion revenue global biopharmacy company with 28,000 employees and with a market capitalization of over $42 billion. Mr. Cornelius led BMS through a transformation into a focused biopharma leader, including expanding the company's R&D capabilities through a business development program that acquired nearly a dozen new technologies and potential biopharma products and companies. In addition, Jim is also non-executive chairman of the board of Mead Johnson Nutrition, the leader in global infant and child nutrition markets. Let me just give you a little history for Mr. Cornelius. He attended Michigan State University, earning a Bachelor of Arts degree magna cum laude in accounting in 1965 and a Master of Business Administration in Finance in 1967. He served on active duty as a lieutenant in the United States Army Finance Corps from 1967 to 1969. He then joined Eli Lilly. He was named the initial director of acquisitions for Lilly's Medical Device and Diagnostics Division, the predecessor group to Guidant, in 1978. He then served as president and CEO of IVAC Corporation in San Diego from 1980 to 1982, previously part of Lilly's medical device and diagnostics business. He was a member of the board of directors of Lilly, its executive committee, and chief financial officer from 1983 until 1995. Mr. Cornelius was first elected Guidant chairman of the board and its senior executive when the company was formed out of Eli Lilly and Company in September 1994. He was instrumental in the successful IPO and subsequent split-off from Lilly in 1995. During his tenure as chairman from 1994 to 2000, Guidant sales tripled from $2.5 billion. The number of employees grew from 5,000 to 10,000, and the company's stock market capitalization increased from $1 billion to over $18 billion. Guidant had been named to 2 Fortune magazine's most prestigious lists, the Fortune 500 and America's Most Admired Companies. He retired from his senior executive leadership position and became non-executive board chairman of Guidant upon retirement in mid-2000 after 33 years of combined service to the Lilly and Guidant corporations. He served as board chairman and chief executive officer from late 2005, during which time a highly publicized auction process between Johnson & Johnson and Boston Scientific culminated in a $27 billion sale to Boston Scientific. Mr. Cornelius was named chairman emeritus of the Guidant board of directors upon closing of its merger agreement with Boston Scientific in 2006. Which brings us back to Bristol-Myers Squibb and Jim's relationship with KGI. Under his leadership, Bristol-Myers and the BMS Foundation have provided substantial support for KGI through scholarships and other sponsorships for KGI events and programs. In full recognition of this remarkable leadership in the life sciences industry and in support of our students, graduate, and alumni, I now present the distinguished speaker of KGI's 10th commencement, James M. Cornelius.
It's a real pleasure to be here, and even though I've given hundreds of talks, I'm a little nervous today. I mean, the student speakers were great. The assembled knowledge in terms of the scientific and management backgrounds of the students. And in my mind's eye, when Shelley first asked me to speak, I thought we'll be in a small conference room, 50 graduates. I'm a little overwhelmed by the size of the turnout today. I think it has an awful lot to do with the students and nothing to do with your commencement speaker. Let me also correct the president, who's usually very current on his facts. So he said Bristol-Myers Squibb is worth $48 billion on the New York Stock Exchange. So he must have been working off an outdated resume. I retired in May of 2010. And ever since I've been gone, the stock's gone straight up. It's closer to $50 billion today. He also knows I'm not one to stand on protocol, and therefore I will unhat myself. It may be that the introduction is going to be longer than the speech, but I know there are more important things as you pick up your diplomas here. And then finally, part of my awe and admiration for everybody here is that, and he read all those wonderful things about being in finance, I have to tell you how I got there. So in high school, I was a C- chemistry student. And I remember taking those grades home. My dad said, "You'll never make it in the technical side of the business," and that's immediately when I switched into accounting, which at that time was a little easier. Much to my surprise, after more than 40 I'm not going to tell you the exact number of years. After 40 years, they've all been in life sciences. So my association with Keck started with the knowledge that this was a specialized graduate school to provide students for that industry. So a good part of what I'm going to talk about will be directed at students, but there's a little bit of what's going on here with Obamacare and the revolution that's going on in our country in terms of how we finance and deliver health care. So with that as background, again, I'm honored to be here. I'm particularly honored on the 10th anniversary. I've always liked to be associated with things that are kind of unique, and the 10th anniversary is a big damn deal. Whoops, wouldn't say that because we're on TV. And I had more modest aspirations when I got my master's degree. It was I want to get a job, find a wife, and avoid the draft. And a couple of those I was successful on, and we don't have time to go into how all that worked out, but it's probably important here, if I don't say it in the speech, for each of you to set some life goals. Very hard, and the question I get asked most often, how do you get to be a CEO? And, do you have aspirations back in college? And the answer, which I said at breakfast this morning, that's pretty high on the pyramid. There's lots of luck and hard work involved. The important thing is to find an organization that you're compatible with, work hard, and see where that takes you. So, as I said, 10th anniversary, very special occasion. Before I said yes, I looked at previous commencement speakers. They'd all been scholars, educators, scientists, Nobel laureates. I flunked on those requirements. But, as I said, 40 years in life sciences, which I didn't design, but that's the way it worked out, and a mission that in the corporate management seems very similar to the Keck Graduate Institute mission. So for those family members and others that are attending, the mission statement reads something like this: translating into power the potential of the life sciences for the benefit of society. So every one of the companies that I work for helped start, listed on the New York Stock Exchange, in a different set of words, but very similar to this. So it's a great industry you young graduates are going into. The companies I work for are responsible for pioneering and introducing innovative life sciences. These aren't necessarily household names, but Prozac, Plavix, second largest product in the world, cardiac stents, implantable defibrillators, and most recently in March, with some pride I stand up here, and this is sort of the psychic income of being associated with a life sciences company, the FDA approved a new treatment for metastatic melanoma. Trade name is Yervoy. It's a monoclonal antibody, ipilimumab. And the FDA won't let us say this, obviously, but for certain patients, and I watched this during the 3.5 years I was CEO, it's a cure. So, on the warning side, this is a unique and uncertain time in American healthcare. Congress passed this very controversial Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act in March of 2010. And this was the most comprehensive overhaul of the life sciences business in my lifetime, probably 50 years. As chairman and CEO of Bristol-Myers Squibb, we supported, I think as most Americans did, the moral imperative of providing insurance for the 32 million Americans that were uninsured. But our government took that very noble concept, and by the time it got through Washington, it was 5,000 pages. Barely passed Congress, as you know, and by September of last year, slightly over a majority of the U.S. public supported its repeal. But it's on the books. You graduates are going to have to go into that environment. We don't know the long-term impact or the cost, and as I said, there'll be months, years probably of interpretation of everything was in those 5,000 pages. So what's healthcare reform mean to you? I can see it on the business side. Everything from medical insurance companies, my old business, medical devices, Bristol-Myers Squibb, and the big pharma biopharmaceutical companies, hospitals, both profit and nonprofit, and even physician practices. And while I'm not going to stand here today and predict what that means for you new graduates, I know from past experience when you have this kind of change, you'll have winners and losers. I will make the prediction that most of the medical innovation that we're going to have in the future will come from U.S. companies, as it has historically. On the more positive side for the graduates, people my age and Dr. Schuster's, we need more health care, particularly because we're aging. So there's this phenomena of the aging of the population in the United States. In fact, it goes beyond that into Europe and Asia. I read the other day that China is now struggling with an aging population, fewer workers to support growing aging population that is living longer thanks to the innovations we've made in healthcare. There's going to be advances in science that I couldn't even predict. Personalized medicine is going to make new opportunities for big pharma. There's genetic markers, diagnostics, and has everybody got a job, by the way, in the graduating class? So if not, I'm going to stay and recruit for Bristol-Myers for about 15 minutes, but is that okay? All right, so, because we need help. In addition to this U.S. growth, the new business models predict big contributions from the acronym BRIC. So that's Brazil, Russia, India, and China. And if you want to add in Turkey, Mexico, and South Korea, because we talked about how global this class is, probably half of the growth in the pharmaceutical business will come from those areas. China deserves special attention. It's replaced Japan as the second largest economy in the world. Same thing is going to happen with the pharmaceutical market and with medical devices as well. So I'll predict some of you, if you're not from there, will spend some time working in China as part of your career. I'm headed to China in November, not for Bristol-Myers Squibb, but for Mead Johnson. Taking their board of directors there, because in spite of their one-child policy, for the last 10 years, the manufacture and distribution of infant nutrition products has grown over 25%. So I'm a business guy, and that company, which was a spin-off from Bristol-Myers Squibb, went public at $24, and Friday closed at $68. So I'm surprised you left that out of the resume. That's $15 billion. So it took this little thing that didn't seem to have value, and honestly, that is why we're taking the board of directors, most of the growth coming from China. In China, the parents and the grandparents, so a family unit of 6, concentrate on that child much like your families have, I think, in helping support your education here. It's not a very sophisticated strategy. We simply took the largest cities in the printout, and this is over 1 million population, and the printout kind of runs out and onto the floor, and said, let's just tackle them in order of size. So we're only on the first page of the damn printout. We got, and sales are growing 25%. So it was helped a little bit by the melamine scare. So those of you that may be thinking about a regulatory quality issue, if you remember, the local producers in China use tainted milk, and there are probably untold deaths as a result of that. Mead Johnson's been the beneficiary of that, along with other foreign suppliers, because we have more rigorous quality control procedures. And there's been a real move to having product imported from outside China. Before I get into the meat of the talk, again, at Bristol-Myers Squibb, we knew the healthcare reform was coming. We knew Plavix patent will go off next year. We went from a big, diversified life sciences company into very focused biopharma. At the same time, I can recall it as vividly as it happened yesterday, we changed the mission statement. And that mission statement today reads, to discover, develop, deliver innovative medicines that help patients prevail over serious disease. Sounds awfully similar to the Keck Institute's mission statement. So part of, I now live in Indianapolis, Indiana, where I spent most of my adult life, and for you know about New Mexico today. Indiana is in the middle of the country, and represents a slightly different culture than we find on both coasts. But anyways, for Bristol-Myers Squibb, that revised mission statement, as the president explained, for Bristol-Myers Squibb was a 3.5-year journey into a solidly biopharmaceutical company. Again, because I'm a businessman, and you didn't mention this, it just so happens that during the 3.5 years where I was the CEO, that ended with my retirement again in May of 2010, Bristol-Myers Squibb had the best total shareholder return of any of the biopharmaceutical companies. So much for blowing my own horn. Now let's get into the task. Shelley said, why don't you look over those 45 years, pick a handful of principles that might help these new graduates going forward. After a couple months of trying this, I had the beginnings of a book. And I know you don't have time to go through all those, so I've narrowed it down to 5. And let me begin with the first, and that is to develop your own personal beliefs and then communicate those. So in my case, very consistent with the mission of the Keck Graduate School, my personal feelings, notwithstanding my C- in chemistry, innovation, a new drug for metastatic melanoma, where the usual prognosis is early death, that only comes from millions and millions of dollars of dedicated scientific time to do that. To put it in business terms, over the past decade, biopharmaceutical companies on average have invested about 20% of their revenue on R&D. So 2 dimes out of every dollar back into R&D. The average cost of discovering a new drug across the industry has risen to $1.3 billion. And that counts all the dry holes and the time value of money. The medical device industry, which I spent the middle part of my career, averages probably 10 or 12 cents of every sales dollar back into R&D. For comparison purposes, the median company in the United States is about a nickel. So as you go into these industries and they say, it's a conservative business, this is a very high risk, tough business to be in because you're betting on future innovation, and I think you all know and appreciate the importance of science. The second principle that sort of came out as I look back on 40 years was prepare relentlessly and never stop learning. And I thought, what a great example today where you spent 2 years in the labs refining your scientific skills, learning more about business. I've served on 16 different boards in a variety of industries. And every time I did one of those, I learned something different from the CEO, the chairman, the board of directors, and the solving of the problems that were faced at that particular company. Hopefully the award of your degree today is just the beginning of a lifetime of continued learning. So on my way out here, and I'm way past my prime, obviously, I spent 2 days in San Francisco at the Gladstone Institute. And that's a private research institute. They've got 3 focused areas, one of which is Alzheimer's disease. And I'd read the statistics that 3 out of 10 eventually, if you live long enough, will get it. And if you get past 85, it'll be 5 chances in 10. And I know some of you think Dr. Schuster's already got it. I've showed symptoms of it on occasion. But beyond our personal desire, this is a big issue for this country and around the world. That would be the Holy Grail if you got to work for a company that could do that or got involved with the Gladstone Institute or something. So it's not as easy. I don't think the disease, this is my tutorial after 2 days, I don't think the disease is well understood today. It's going to take more than one drug intervention to cure these people. It's the kind of opportunities that exist out there. Principle number 3, surround yourself with great people. So whether you're the CEO of a large company, the leader of a small department, research organization, you're going to receive both credit and criticism for your leadership. I've never been afraid to have, which is easy because people were smarter than me, to surround myself and do as I think you've tried to do in your curriculum with your team projects. Individual contributors don't get much done. If you don't have the teamwork, you're not going to be successful. So many of the great ideas that we implemented at Bristol-Myers Squibb in a short period of time, 3.5 years, including the targeted strategy that I mentioned earlier, came from outstanding people that were already on the Bristol-Myers Squibb senior management team, but were committed to this biopharma vision. Half of the new product pipeline that Bristol-Myers Squibb has today came from something called the string of pearls. The string of pearls was a catchy phrase that I invented. This is my only patent. And it came about because as we moved to New York, my wife found the Diamond District. I was down there every weekend. And the guy from Wall Street said, what are you going to call this aggressive outreach for technology? And I said, well, how about the string of pearls? That nomenclature described the acquisition of several companies, 12 successful alliances, and as I said, sort of filling in half of what we today know as the new product pipeline. Principle number 4, let me switch gears. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. Probably heard of the Indianapolis Colts. So I'm a season ticket holder since we stole them from Baltimore. And I was at the Super Bowl in February 2007 to cheer on my hometown Colts, led by most valuable player Peyton Manning. Colts won the Super Bowl that year, really in convincing fashion against the Chicago Bears. And I remember our coach at the time, Tony Dungy, a guy that I've got a great deal of admiration for, had set the tone early in the season when he said, we're going to take this season one game at a time. And I contrast that to the flamboyant style we see in other parts of the National Football League, owners, coaches, players, etc., who promise victory but end up eating their own words. And I've learned over these 40 years this same approach of under-promising and then over-delivering is appreciated, whether it's your employees, your customers, boards of directors, the FDA, shareholders, and when you're a public company, Wall Street. Let me get down to the last principle then. This is one that you got to remember, so you can skip the other 4, but this is important. Honesty and transparency are your only options. In the healthcare business in particular, where we're talking about life and death, my best advice is let the data and science be your guide. With patient lives on the line, there's no room for compromise. Warren Buffett, even at age 80, reminds us what you build up over a lifetime can be destroyed in an instant. I know you've studied advanced statistics, you've learned about the unpredictable nature of side effects, the importance of genomics. Now it's just starting to be felt. It will lead to personalized medicine and I'm sure better healthcare outcomes as we go forward. So whether dealing with product claims, manufacturing quality, employee communication, SEC filings, and one of your members of the Board of Trustees, the former General Counsel Guidant, who when he accepted the job, I said, your job is to keep us out of jail. And he did a wonderful job of that. And how do we do it? We did it by being honest and transparent in everything we did in that corporation. So in conclusion, as I said, I got the beginnings of a book. So I may get royalties eventually if I can get this published. But I hope these 5 resonate with you as you either start or restart your careers. As I said, the last one may be the most important. And looking back, while I didn't have any grand plan about this, I can think of no other industry other than life sciences that I would rather have participated in. Stock market appreciation aside, this opportunity to improve somebody's life, maybe save their life, is sort of a special and unique dimension of life sciences. I think you've chosen wisely to invest your time, improve your talents with the completion of your degree here today. My personal best wishes for continued success. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. We certainly appreciate and were stimulated by your remarks, except we didn't realize you're a Colts fan. It is now my pleasure to introduce Chairman Curry, who has, I believe, several resolutions to read from the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Shelley. Recently, the Board of Trustees received a resolution from the faculty to award certificates to members of Keck Graduate Institute's post-baccalaureate pre-medical certificate program. It's the inaugural class. The board approved the resolution unanimously. I now call upon James Sterling, the Dean of the Faculty, to present the candidates. Jim.
Will the candidates for the post-baccalaureate pre-medical certificate in applied life sciences please rise? Mr. Chairman, with great pleasure, I present the candidates who have successfully completed the requirements for the post-baccalaureate pre-medical certificate in applied life sciences.
Upon the recommendation of the faculty, with the Board of Trustees of Keck Graduate Institute concurring, I hereby award you the post-baccalaureate pre-medical certificate in applied life sciences with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Will the candidates come forward to receive their certificates? Daniel Burke, Andrew Robert Griesbaum, Andy Vietan Nguyen, Janice Suk Lee, Stephanie Kazumi Sakamoto, Rudy Say, Laura Ann Wilson, Jean Yeo,
Recently, the Board of Trustees received a resolution from the faculty to grant degrees to members of Keck Graduate Institute's candidates for the Doctor of Philosophy. The board approved the resolution unanimously. I now call upon James Sterling, the Dean of Faculty, to present the candidates.
The candidates for the Doctor of Philosophy are unable to join us today. However, it's with great pleasure that I acknowledge the work of these candidates. The first is Nathaniel Freund, and the second is Bjorn Ostman.
Both of our PhD graduates are hard at work in industry now, so we congratulate them wholeheartedly. Upon the recommendation of the faculty, with the Board of Trustees of Keck Graduate Institute concurring, I hereby confer the degree of Doctor of Philosophy with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto. Recently, the Board of Trustees received a resolution from the faculty to grant degrees to members of Keck Graduate Institute's postdoctoral professional masters in bioscience management class. The board approved the resolution unanimously, and I call upon James Sterling, the Dean of Faculty, to present these candidates.
Will the candidates for the degree of Master of Bioscience please rise? Oh, sorry. Postdoctoral professional masters. Mr. Chairman, with great pleasure, I present the students who have successfully completed the requirements for the degree of postdoctoral professional masters in bioscience management.
Upon the recommendation of the faculty, with the Board of Trustees of Keck Graduate Institute concurring, I hereby confer on you the degree of postdoctoral professional masters in biosciences, with all the rights, privilege, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Will the candidates come forward to receive their degree and hood? Farhan Javed Bukhari. Claudia Y. Lee. Biranchi Narayan Patra. Sergio Armando Sanchez Mancinelli. Antonio Sanchez. In absentia is Rahul Shah. And there were 3 graduates from the December class. and the first is Linda Sue Hu. In absentia is Jennifer Wu. And Mark Brown. Let's give a big round of applause to the PPM graduates.
Recently, the Board of Trustees received a resolution from the faculty to grant degrees to members of Keck Graduate Institute's 10th Master of Bioscience class, the class of 2011. The board approved the resolution unanimously, and I call upon Jim Sterling once again, the Dean of the Faculty, to present these candidates.
Will the candidates for the degree of Master of Bioscience please rise? Mr. Chairman, with great pleasure, I present the candidates who have successfully completed the requirements for the degree of Master of Bioscience.
Upon the recommendation of the faculty, with the Board of Trustees of Keck Graduate Institute concurring, I hereby confer on you the degree of Master of Bioscience, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Will the candidates come forward to receive their degrees and hoods? Virian B. Bonzone. Khushnuma Cyrus Bhesania. Adam Levitt Calvert. Nicholas Jean Carman. Jessica Jen Ning Chang. Guan Ting Chen. Mona Umber Chugtai. Dilshad Contractor. Scott Allen Cooper. Cindy Elizabeth Cordova. Brad Evan Davis. Michael De La Cruz. Purushothaman Dhanraj. Robert Lowell Ethel. John Tyson Fetzer. Ian Foti Landis. Boris Gitis. Jacob Thomas Graham. Sarab Khandpur. Nicholas Andrew Kampf. Vikram Khanna. Rachel Heather Knight. Arvind Kuthandan Raman. Nilima Kumar. Corey Kazuhiko Kuruma. Chun Wing Kwok. Alice Hoshin Lai. Christina Tu Mai Lai. Ryan LaRanger. Daniel Lev. Li Liang. Jessica Lin. Juan Pablo McDonald. Sri Ramya Madaliti. Joshua George Monoher. Sylvia Koyakati Melatath. Bandish Haroon Momin. Shafali Sham Nagrani. Corey Ozar. Michelle Lynette Pesci. Mark Elliott Pollock. Yashwant Sanjay Rain. Kapil G. Rora. Baman Sadegi. Chance Colton Scott. Daniel Benjamin Siegel. Trevor Sell. Anusha Shankar. Justin Jungsi Shin. Samir Sivam Nueforn. Chandana P. Thorat. Hua Yan. John R. Zhang. Let's give a big round of applause for the MBS class of 2011.
Congratulations. You are now alumni. Move your tassels here. That's right. It's now my pleasure to introduce our alumni speaker, Darren Leva, class of 2005, who's president of the Alumni Board. Darren is the Associate Director for Business Development for Althea Technologies in the San Francisco Bay Area, selling manufacturing services to biotech companies. Since graduating, Darren has been involved with 6 startup companies, including his own, dealsheet.org, which I suggest you go to, a Craigslist for the biotech industry. Darren decided to get involved with the Alumni Board as a way to give back to the faculty and the institution that provided him with such a valuable education. As an entrepreneur, Darren has said the most important things he took away from KGI were how to write a business plan and the opportunity to talk with actual venture capitalists. He also learned valuable lessons that he uses on the job, where he is required to organize a great many moving pieces, such as internal personnel, external clients, the technical components of jobs, and contract negotiation. Today, I'm asking Darren to welcome our newest graduates into the KGI alumni family. Please welcome Darren Leva.
You guys made it. Congrats. I'd like to officially welcome you on behalf of the alumni to the Alumni Association. This is a really big accomplishment, and we are proud to have you. I've heard great things about your class, and we're excited that you're part of the alumni. So at lunch yesterday, I told a brief story about my night before graduation, and I came here with a wound on my forehead. I was limping across the stage, and my mom wasn't that happy. And I imparted some advice to have fun last night to the new graduates, but not too much fun. And I saw no limping and a lot of happy mothers in the audience, so thank you for taking my direction. Besides talking about the Alumni Association, I'd like to also tell you a story about getting my first job out of Keck and the importance of networking and connecting with people. And then I'll wrap up, and Shelley will finish, and we can celebrate. So we started the Alumni Association about a year and a half ago. Now we're at 370, and your class makes up 20% of that number. So that's pretty exciting. You guys are a big force within that body. So from an alumni board standpoint, we focus on 3 areas where we think we can add a lot of value. One is curriculum, the second is admissions, and the last is networking. So I think we've got a great system in place where we're collaborating with KGI, the KGI community, and the Board of Trustees to really influence curriculum and the admissions process. But I think actually the most important aspect of what we're doing right now is building the network. And at the stage we're at a really young stage, and building the network is one of the most important things, because that allows you guys to get jobs, that allows students to get internships, that allows the school to recruit for TMPs, and most importantly, it builds the KGI brand, which we all want. And we all want that to be recognized when you go out and look for a job and someone says, oh, you went to KGI, I already know what that is, and here's a job. So that'll be nice one day. So in speaking about our high priority of networking, in addition to events and student alumni relations, those kinds of things, we're also building an online database. It's kind of a Web 2.0 web-based tool that will allow us to easily connect with each other and also with the surrounding KGI community. So look for that this summer. It should come out, and it'll be an important tool for you guys to get jobs if you haven't already gotten one. And so to conclude about the Alumni Association, I'd like to personally invite each one of you to participate at whatever level you feel comfortable. And I understand you might need a little bit of a break from this intense education, but we'd love to have you participate in any way, shape, or form. If you don't participate, I'll take it personally. So you don't want that. You don't want that. So also in speaking about networking and connecting, I want to tell you this story about how I got my first job. And I think it should demonstrate the importance of building that network and connecting with people throughout your career and your lives. So before I graduated KGI, I had a job about 4 or 5 months before the graduation. And a faculty member, one of the founding faculty members, Brenda Mann, she had left KGI to start a company in Salt Lake City, Utah. And by networking through her and knowing her, I actually asked her, could I come work for you? And it was kind of a dream job. It was kind of product development, and so I had a little bit of the science, a little bit of the business, and it was a little bit risky because it was a very early stage company. So I moved out to Salt Lake City. I'm setting up my house. I shared a house with someone I had met. And then, I got in a mattress, and I'm in the middle of buying furniture, and I literally get a call from Brenda, and she starts out the conversation with, are you sitting down? So that's either a good thing or a bad thing. And I said, well, now I'm sitting down. And she said, we just got our Series A round of funding, our venture capital funding. But the venture capitalists want to move the company to San Francisco and run it virtually. And so I'm out of a job, and you are too, before you even started. So that's how I started. And so what am I going to do in Salt Lake City, where it's not a biotech hub? It's kind of the middle of nowhere, and I don't have a job, and I just worked really hard for 2 years. And so what I decided to do was pack all my belongings into my car again, sell that mattress that I had used for a couple days, and I drove over to San Francisco. And I only knew one person in San Francisco, my best friend, who was at the time at Stanford. So I crashed on his couch for about 2 months. But what I wanted to do was find a job as fast as possible. I felt like I lost so much time. And so, there's one way of going about finding a job, which is applying online and sitting and waiting. But for me, that wasn't proactive enough, and I was trying to think, what can I do to speed this up? And so I decided to, because it's such a big biotech hub, it's the biggest in the world, I figured anything I did volunteer-wise, I was going to meet biotech people just because there's so many in the area. So I started volunteering at things like Bay Bio, which is a trade organization, Habitat for Humanity, the San Francisco Film Festival. I mean, you name it, I was volunteering at it. At one point, I was so desperate for volunteer opportunities, I went on Craigslist and looked in the volunteer category. There's an ad for need a good Samaritan for a day. And what else am I doing, other than looking for jobs? So I'll entertain this. So the ad says, I'm a 40-year-old professional. I just moved to the area. I don't know anyone. I'm having outpatient eye surgery at Stanford. And I need someone to drive me to Stanford, drop me off for the surgery, pick me up, pick up my drugs, and drop me off home because he wouldn't be able to see. So I figured, what the hell, what am I doing? I of course I'll take this guy for a ride. So... So I pick him up, and the first thing he asked me is, why are you a good Samaritan? Why are you doing this? And I had to be honest. I was like, I'm trying to meet people because I'm looking for a job, and this is my story. And I told him the whole thing, and he said, well, I really appreciate that, and I actually have a friend that is a biotech recruiter, and please send me your resume. So, it was he wasn't in biotech himself, but it was a nice gesture, and I thought, maybe it'll work out. Who knows? So 6 weeks later, I actually got a call from my first company, Argenox Pharmaceuticals, and they said, we got your resume from this recruiter, and 2 weeks later, I had a job. So, that's an extreme example, and to the women in the audience, I don't recommend probably going that route, but sometimes that's what you got to do to get a job. And so I think the reason I'm telling you this is because it's so important to connect with people, and in a course of 2 months, I met 40 to 50 people in the biotech industry just from volunteering at random things. And I literally got a job from answering a Craigslist ad to take a guy to Stanford. So, sometimes that's what you got to do. So I think that when you connect with people, you ask the right questions, and you tell them, you're really honest with them and tell them, what you're looking for, what you need to do, I think you'll be successful. It's no secret that people like to work with people they like. And if you are a likable person and you build that network, they're always going to be there to offer you jobs or to collaborate with you. To even further this point, I worked for a CEO once who built his entire career around connecting with people. And at the age of, I think he was 48 or 49 when I worked for him, he went and got a tattoo on his leg that said, "Only connect." And it's a pretty powerful message, and it was a little crazy, also extreme, but it's an interesting example, and he's been very successful. So just to wrap up, again, I really want to welcome you to the Alumni Association. Use your network to connect, whether that's KGI, whether that's your family, whether that was your internships, or whether that's finding some random dude on Craigslist to give a ride to. Build that network. And by building your network, and telling people about KGI and what you've done here, that really builds the brand that we're trying to sell. And that's really important for us as alumni to really push the institution forward. So I hope you guys go out and celebrate tonight and make us proud. Thank you.
Congratulations again. It is fitting today that we really celebrate this first real-time broadcast of our commencement exercises at our 10th anniversary ceremony. And in addition to those I greeted at the beginning of this ceremony, I'd like to greet the viewers and listeners from Argentina, Colombia, and Russia. I want to greet them and welcome them and tell them how much we want to be part of their family and how much we want them to be part of our KGI family. Come visit us, come see us, come join our family, and come join with this wonderful occasion. While this technological feat is worthy of celebration in and of itself, the modern vehicle makes it even more poignant today that we celebrate the graduation of you 72 young people who embody and will transmit in a very real sense by your actions the values of science. And these are values that go back centuries. These timeless principles we give to future generations through you because they have become the foundation of enhanced human health, and they are the cornerstones of well-being. Indeed, they are the pillars of civil society. A description of these classic values within a modern context has been done recently by Dr. Ismail Serageldin, founding director of the New Library of Alexandria, Egypt. 2 weeks ago, he was awarded the National Academy of Sciences Public Welfare Medal, the highest honor for a non-Academy member. He spoke with such eloquence and passion that I would like to read from his text so we can appreciate how critical values of science must inform the future of our society. His library that he directs and founded is the newest version of one of the oldest libraries in recorded history, founded in 323 BC by Ptolemy Soter, and was considered the ancient world's greatest archive of knowledge. This day, he moved timeless values of science to their central role in guiding the ferment he sees in his part of the world, with change happening in very real time. Let me quote from Dr. Serageldin, and of course, as a good scholar, he quotes others. Quote, as Baranowski observed more than a half century ago, the enterprise of science requires the adoption of certain values: truth, honor, teamwork, constructive subversiveness, engagement with the other, freedom, imagination, and method for arbitration of disputes. The values of science are adhered to by its practitioners with a rigor that shames other professions. Truth. Any scientist who manufactures his data is ostracized forever from the scientific community. She or he may err in interpreting the data, but no one can accept fabrication of data. In no other field of human activity is this commitment to truth so absolute. Honor. Scientists reject plagiarism. To give each his or her due is essential, a sentiment well captured in Newton's statement that, quote, if I have seen farther than most, it is because I have stood on the shoulders of giants. Teamwork has become essential in most fields of science, and the essence of teamwork is to ensure that all members of the team receive the recognition they deserve. Science advances by overthrowing the existing paradigm, or at least significantly expanding or modifying it. Thus, there is a certain constructive subversiveness built into the scientific enterprise as a new generation of scientists makes its own contributions. And so it must be. Without that, there would be no scientific advancement. But our respect and admiration for Newton is not diminished by the contributions of Einstein. We can and do admire both. This constant renewal and advancement of our scientific understanding is a feature of the scientific enterprise. It requires tolerant engagement with the contrarian view, accepting to arbitrate disputes by the rules of evidence and rationality. Science requires freedom. Freedom to inquire, to challenge, to think, to imagine the unimagined. It cannot function within the arbitrary limits of convention, nor can it flourish if it is forced to shy away from challenging the accepted. The content of scientific work is what is discussed, not the person who produced it, regardless of their nationality or the color of their skin or the God they choose to worship, or the ethnic group they were born into, or their gender. These are societal values worth defending, not just to promote the pursuit of science, but to have a better and more humane society. These are the central core of universal values that any truly modern society must possess. These are indeed stirring and timely descriptions for science and all of society. And he ends by a charge to your generation that I believe is most appropriate on this day of commencement. Again, Dr. Sarah Geldon. Quote, "To our youth, I say, you have been called the children of the internet or the Facebook generation, but you are more. You are the vanguard of a great global revolution of the 21st century. So, embrace the values of science and go forth into the journey of your lives to create a better world for yourselves and for others. Think of the unborn, remember the forgotten, give hope to the forlorn, include the excluded, reach out to the unreached, and by your actions from this day onwards, lay the foundation for better tomorrows." It is now, with all of our hope, well wishes, and enthusiasm, that I ask everyone as a community to join me in one final round of congratulations to all of you.